My name is Kim Miller, and I have been a financial counselor for over 15 years. I've had the privilege of working with thousands of people regarding their finances. So a lot of questions that I get with young adults that are parents and facing their finances are, am I doing the right thing? How do I save money? And what do I prepare for? And so I just am here to help them feel more confident in dealing with their money so that they can achieve their goals going forward.
For me, I had a child unexpected, didn't really plan for it, and then all of a sudden I found myself in a position to where I'm going to be a father in 9 months. And when a child gets involved, and all of a sudden you're realizing that you can't buy the things that you thought that you needed in your life, you have to make budgets and make wiser decisions, and all of a sudden you don't have the money, and sometimes you're not making enough. I think that when it comes to having a child, it's important that if you have the option, to plan for it.
How are you still financially stable through all the bills, the medical bills, the hospital bills, all of that? That's my biggest concern about being a parent.
Financial stability means a lot of different things for a lot of people. What I like to think financial stability is that they find peace and that they're not constantly thinking about money. So I have a lot of youth that tell me like, well, money is not my main focus. I'm not here to make money. And I totally get that. And at the same time, if bills are past due or you're feeling nervous about money, even when you don't want to think about it, it's always kind of running in the back of your head. It's kind of that extra noise and that extra fear or unrest inside of you. And so to me, I think of financial stability as calming that fear, is knowing in the back of your head that, hey, I have options, that I have some savings, I have choices, and I have a goal for the future. And so that can be as little or as big as possible. I've seen youth with their goal is to buy toilet paper in bulk. And so they set aside a couple of extra dollars each week so they could buy the toilet paper on sale, which then snowballed into having extra money to buy the soda when it's on sale. And then it just allowed them to save money that gave them financial stability, is to buy more things on sale, to save money, to make overall cost of living less. So other pieces of financial stability might be for their kids, is knowing that when something big comes up, that they have the money to enroll them in those extra lessons or to be able to provide for their birthday party and that type of thing. People who find financial stability in the youth that I talk to is that they are constantly learning, they're constantly adapting, and they're trying, and they're building up that savings to build that buffer so that they can weather those little blips along the road. And so that's the difference between like living day to day. People know, you know how to pay your bills, that you know what bills are coming in, and it's the extra stuff that pops up that throws people off. And so if we can get to the point where you can find yourself with some surplus and you can set that aside and it can give you a little bit of breathing room, that paves the way to financial stability because it allows you to take bigger risks, bigger chances, and then you have that buffer to catch your fall. A big challenge just in general in creating a spending plan and managing money is when income feels inconsistent. Even when your paycheck may be coming in steadily, there may be in the back of your head something waiting for the other shoe to drop. And so you're always kind of at a sense of peak, like what's gonna happen. And so sometimes we react differently to that. And so sometimes it's like YOLO, like I'm just gonna go ahead and do this stuff because you never know when, the money is here, the money is now, let's go and have fun. Sometimes it's the opposite effect. It's I don't wanna spend any money because the money is here and I would like to save it for later. And so sometimes first, the initial challenge is not necessarily actually spending or planning for the money, is acknowledging our feelings and emotions behind how we want to and how we handle our money. Like when we're at our peak stress, what is our gut reaction to how we respond to things? Is it when we're stressed, do we go out and buy something to feel better? Or when our children are upset, do we go ahead and just use money to make the overall situation better? And sometimes that too is just the acknowledgement of sometimes we don't always need to spend money. Maybe this feeling is just something that can go away, or we can do a different activity, or we can, with a little bit of planning and saving for later, that may be enough so that we can save our money for future things. The heart of money management is really acknowledging that our time and money have limits. And thinking about ways of creating financial stability, one way that can be helpful in money management is to create a spending plan or a budget. And I know people don't like thinking about that, and that term can really throw people off. But ultimately what it is documenting how much money is coming in for income that you have to spend at this moment, and then what all needs to be paid out in expenses. And you might be able to list off your bills right away. You might have rent and electricity and insurance and cable and that type of thing. When you have documented all of those specific expenses, it leaves the rest of the money then that you can be more mindful about going forward. That's what financial stability will lead to, is not only knowing your ongoing income and your basic fixed living expenses, but it's what are we going to do with that extra amount then each month until more money comes in. Right now I'm working with the youth on their finances, and what really throws them off on their budget is when expected, unexpected stuff comes up. And I say planned emergencies are things that we know that happen every year, but it's not something that's always consistent every month. And so it does seem like a surprise when we're in the moment, because when our nose is to the ground and we're working hard and we're earning our money and we're paying our bills, and all of a sudden, bloop, I wore out my shoes, or oh, my kid needs, winter clothes now because there's snow on the ground. That is kind of a planned emergency. And so that's where setting aside money each month for emergencies, it may not have a specific tag of I'm setting this money for water, or I'm setting aside this money for clothes, or those are planned savings, but they feel like emergencies because they're not necessarily part of our day-to-day cash flow. And so having money for those kind of savings really, again, gives us peace of mind, helps us reassure us that we have the money for it. It prevents us from taking out debt. So that's one chunk of money that I think sometimes people forget to set aside. That money is really actually money you've already spent. You just don't know it yet. And so you deserve to set aside that money ahead of time so that you have it for when the future comes. The other part of savings is those pure unexpected emergencies. It is illness. It is a car accident. It is missing work. It is things like that we can't even imagine. So those emergencies we can't always plan for, but if you are able to set aside additional money just for that, that's the kind of rainy day emergency fund. So I always say there's two tiers of savings then. It's the stuff that doesn't pop up all the time but happens every year. And then the second layer of savings is those pure we don't know what life's going to throw at us, but we need that money for it anyway. With the youth that I've worked with, there's been varying financial goals. So there's long-term goals, like things that might take, 3 to 5 years to build, and that might be starting their own business or buying your own home, or living independently and having a transportation, buying a car. That might take, a couple of years to do that. And then I've also seen really great short-term financial goals. And so one person created a goal of just being more aware of what they're spending. When you're looking at something that costs, let's say, $100 a month, you can always say, how many hours of work do I need to trade off to pay for this monthly payment? And is that still worth it to me? A good question you can ask yourself is this money choice that I'm making today, can it further my financial goals, or is it going to push it back a little? What I consider a success is that when I work with youth, that they're able to tell me, this is what the money that came in, and this is what I spent the money on, and I have X amount left over. I also consider success, and I've worked with youth in the past too that have made mistakes and may have overspent a little bit, but they're able to tell me, this is where I overspent, and this is the plan I will take to recover from it. That is also success to me, because they're able to tell me, they're able to pinpoint it, and they're able to do it confidently and without shame or guilt. There are a lot of community supports that can also provide financial assistance, but part of it sometimes is not knowing where to ask for help. So there is a great website called bridgetobenefits.org, where if you put in your information and your zip code, it will pull up all of the governmental programs that you may qualify for and the county that you need to call in the office. So that can provide energy assistance, health insurance, that type of thing, all the different assistance programs. So that's kind of a one-stop shop for a website and a resource.